Oh, hey, Fran.
Living the dream, just like everyone else, right?
Hey, Fran. I just looked at the attendee list and it looks like David's in there.
Oh, okay. Did Kathy
Kathy, I don't know if you
hear
You're
heard
good to
that.
go, Fran.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Becca. Well, good evening. My name is Fran Baxter, and I'm the chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Northborough. This is Tuesday, December 8th, past the hour of 6 o'clock, and this is a meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is an open meeting of the Northborough Zoning Board of Appeals, and it's being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of the Zoning Board of Appeal are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Zoning Board of Appeal to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law, and this meeting will feature public comment. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so Kathy, did you say,
Yes, I just got a text from David that he is going to be joining us,
okay.
but he said that, let me just double check. He says he used the link that I sent him, which, you all had, but he's not showing up on the screen.
Okay.
So is he,
Hey, Kathy.
yeah?
Yeah, he's in the under the attendee list. So if you go to the bottom, yeah, participants, there's panelists and attendees. He's in the attendee.
So can, Becca, when it's time to do that, we can bring him over?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I'll let him know.
Okay, so we're going to start with the continuation of the consideration of the petition of the NB Real Estate LLC for the variance special permit with site plan approval to allow the partial demolition of an existing building and to replace it with a new building that will be approximately in the existing footprint on the property located at 56 Hudson Street, map 54, parcel 84 in the downtown neighborhood district and groundwater protection overlay district area 3. Now, hopefully everyone did receive the updated plans by email, as well as a letter from our town engineer about his recommendations or comments. Did everybody get that as of today? Okay, I see head nodding. Okay. All right. So Kathy, can you tell me who in the audience, I see Tom Reardon, so I can make him allowed to talk. Is Randy also?
Randy Waterman.
And Matt?
Matt.
Okay. All right. And gentlemen, is there anyone else besides the three of you that you are aware of?
I think that's it.
Okay, fabulous. Okay.
Three amigos.
All right. So I don't know whether Tom, as the architect, is it easier for you to just wrap this up for us, what the changes were and what the maps are?
So at the last meeting, we had two proposed configurations for the loading dock. One was 90 degrees from the proposed addition wall along Hudson Street. And the second one had a 10-degree angle or 110 or 100-degree angle to give us the ability to back into the loading dock without being parallel with the addition. So Randy has gone ahead and improved my access and shown it in red on his sketch, both the driving in and pulling out. So I will turn it over to Randy if you have any questions regarding that.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. Hi, Randy. Okay, board members, do you have any questions for the applicant regarding the new configuration?
If this is Randy, if I can just add that essentially we ran an auto turn truck that is 28 feet long, which is the longest truck that they get at this portion of the site. Typical ones are more like 24 feet. So we showed it coming into the site, backing up flush to the dock on the first sheet. And the second sheet is to show how it would look as it leaves the site.
Okay.
We did it in 2 sheets just because it gets a little too busy right when the truck is doing all the turning movements. Since the time I sent this, Fred and I have had a couple of discussions about tweaking this a little bit more. And he has written a memo today that I'm sure he will explain. But essentially, I think we both have agreed that it probably makes most sense to move the existing crosswalk to the east, so it's just beyond where the truck would be parked. And that way, as people come down from the east along the sidewalk on this side of the street, they'd be able to cross over without even being in the area where the truck would be parked. And we think that probably makes sense. There are a couple other tweaks to the plan that we've talked about. Some of those are probably details that we just need to work out in the field about the grade of the crosswalk versus the sidewalk and whether we keep some of the curbing or not. So we are, I've spoken to, and Matt is here from Maytech. I've talked to both Matt and Tom today, and everybody agrees that we think this works, but if there's some tweaks that will actually make it a little better, then I think we are all game to do that. And hopefully that could be a condition of approval possibly.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. So Fred, oh, sure.
I'm sorry, can I just, because, you know, we all have the sketch in front of us or maybe on your computer screens, but because it's a public hearing, Randy, do you have it, or Tom or Matt, that you could show on the screen?
I don't have it that I can show on the screen, no.
Nor do I.
Okay. Well, let me see.
All right, let me,
I should be able to. Let me just find the.
I have it, but I don't know how to find it.
okay. Fran,
Okay, 1 second.
You want to keep going and I'll pull it up?
Sure.
All right. So Fred, do you want to recap your memo for us?
Good evening. Everything that Randy and Tom told you is accurate. When I looked at the sketch, it appears that the way they have it laid out now, the front wheel of the truck and the front portion of the fender is on the sidewalk. DPW director and I reviewed it and thought that if the crosswalk gets moved to about where the utility pole is, I'm not sure if you can see that on your sketch. If it moves to the east about to where the utility pole is, then that eliminates the conflict with the sidewalk. And therefore, the sidewalk would run to the west, about to the pole. People would cross over to the other side of the street, and then the sidewalk would be extended along Hudson Street in front of that property owned by M&K Realty Trust and connect to the existing sidewalk that's there. And the ramp on that side would be moved over to line up with the crosswalk. There would be just a little bit of pavement that would be, an overlay would need to be added to the area where the sidewalk is, just to make it nice and smooth and even, similar to what's already there. That seemed agreeable when I talked to Randy. It doesn't seem too onerous to me, and it allows this configuration to stay basically where it is. And if need be, they could, tweak it a little bit. In the letter, I outlined that I wanted a few things. One would be the kind of a blow up of this area, just where the dock is, the sidewalk, the crosswalks, and a portion of the loading dock, so that it could be looked at a little bit closer, and that Randy could submit that with a road opening permit. We could review it, approve it, and then issue the permit. I just like to do that before they go too far on the construction. And then the comment about the revised location of the loading dock requires relocating the handicap ramp and also the crosswalk. So it all kind of goes together. And then the last comment, number 4, is really to just solidify exactly how close that corner of the building will be to Hudson Street, so that when they submit the as-built plan, I can verify that that is the exact number that they obtained or slightly more. has a setback. So it's clarification for you in the decision and me in the as-built plan and review, and to assist Bob with his issuance at the end as well.
Okay, all right, thank you, Fred. Can everyone see the map, the plan, I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, okay, all right, so this is the one of the truck traveling out. And then this is the other one, correct?
Yeah.
That's the truck arriving, yes, coming from the west and turning into the site, then backing up and being flush with the loading dock. The one point that I wanted to mention was on Fred's last point about the setback from the building addition to the street. And I think we talked about this a little bit in the field. We had shown on our original plans that the existing building is 8.5 feet off the property line now, and we were asking to go down to 8.2 feet or 7.2 at the staircase, which was a little closer actually than the corner of the building. And since we're going to be tweaking this dock still a little bit more to just make sure it's exactly what Fred and the town are looking for, we were hoping there would still be some flexibility to probably, at least instead of saying exactly 8 feet, if we could still say 7.2 feet from the side setback or from the front setback to the building addition. That would give us a little flexibility, because I know Tom was still working out the width of the loading dock door itself. And I believe we still have a 10-foot dimension there, but we just wanted to make sure if we need to adjust it a little bit that we could have that wiggle room of, probably 6 or 8 inches.
Okay. All right, do any of the board members have questions while I have this up? And I can't see everyone, so you'll just have to say something.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I have a question.
Sure, Brad?
So based on these updated plans, are you still planning on eliminating that bump out by Cold Harbor Brook? I know it's kind of jets out a little bit, and we're gonna, when we were on site that day, you were talking about eliminating that.
Yes.
You are, okay.
Yes, it's a little hard to see on this latest plan, but
Right.
it's the part that has the 45-degree hash lines in it. That's the existing building. And so you can see in the furthest left corner, if you move the cursor over a little further left, little further, little more, that box right there is what's getting removed. And then
Okay.
the whole building line is coming down where those parallel lines are. So that triangle that's there that goes to the south, all that's getting removed.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mark?
In where the truck pulls in and where the truck pulls out, what happens to the sidewalk relative to Hudson Street? Is it still elevated? Is it paved, flush with the street? Is it graded up? I mean, is there a curb of any kind?
There is a curb there today. It's a Cape Cod type bituminous curb. And that the sidewalk, if you look just roughly on this plan in the center of the building, I have it handwritten on there just to make it clear where the sidewalk was. It's right next to the curb, and it's 4 feet wide. And that sidewalk extends in a westerly direction until you hit the little square box that is the current handicap ramp that leads you to the crosswalk. So there is no sidewalk to the west of that 8-foot dimension.
Okay.
And as we were just talking about to Fred today, we're going to move that ramp to the east, just to the point where there's a utility pole right next to the building.
Okay.
So we're moving that ramp back to the east, and that will now be the new spot where the sidewalk stops and turns, and you would cross Hudson Street at that location. So that there will be no sidewalk in the area where the trucks pull in or pull out.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'm actually gonna,
Madam Chair, just a
Sure.
continuation on the sidewalk discussion. So when you do cross Hudson Street, where that new sidewalk is going to be, is there sidewalk on the other side of Hudson Street that will then connect to downtown?
Yes, there is. We have to extend it from where we cross right near the utility pole that's on the north side of Hudson. We will have to extend it from there across that driveway at M&K Realty that would get us over to where the sidewalk stops right now and crosses at our existing crosswalk. So we will extend it to that point on the north side of Hudson Street.
Okay.
Fred?
Fran, if
Yes.
I just can elaborate a little bit, where the box is in the square where it says 8.0, that's the crosswalk. And the crosswalk goes directly across Hudson Street and the sidewalk comes down from Main Street right there where you were
Mhm.
and stops right there where the arrow is now. And what would have to happen is that would have to extend to the east, about to the utility pole, a little bit further. And a little more,
Oh,
right about there.
wow, okay.
And there's it's basically, that's one wide driveway opening for the property at
Mhm.
M&R Realty Trust across the street. So all we would be looking for is an overlay on that so that the grade of the existing sidewalk blends into the newer one an inch or two and make it smooth and no trip hazard. So that would be the best way to go.
That scale's just about 50 feet in length off on the plan.
Okay. Seems about right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else from the board or town staff? Okay, well, this is a continuation of a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience that has any questions or concerns that they'd like to bring up, if you could just raise your hand and I will unmute you so that you can ask your question. So I'll make sure I'm scrolling down. All right. Oh, I don't see, all right, I don't see anybody. All right, so what is the pleasure of the board at this point?
One final question, if
Mark?
I can. Bob, the offset, the required offset for the building is what at that point?
15 feet.
15 feet? So they'd be asking for an incursion of, say, 8 feet into the offset. Okay.
Yeah, the existing building is currently 8.5 feet off the lot line right now. So it's already non-conforming. So we would be asking to be able to go to 7.2 feet. So an additional, 8/10 or so, or a little more than that. But 7.2 would be the minimum setback we would maintain.
We'd probably give you 7 feet because we don't do points too well.
Excellent, thank you. That's much easier.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any other questions or concerns? Okay,
I move that we close the hearing.
okay, who do I hear? Okay, so that Mark made the motion and Dick seconded that motion, so we'll do a roll call. Mark,
Aye.
Dick,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and Fran, aye. So the hearing has been closed. We will discuss it and come to a decision hopefully later this evening. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
One moment. All right. Okay, all right. So the next item is old and new business. And it's a review of and a response to the open meeting law complaint that was received on November 25th, 2020 regarding the October 27th, 2020 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. One second, sorry. Okay. Okay, well, as you know, the board had received an open meeting law complaint regarding our meeting on October 27th, 2020. The complaint was filed by residents Joanne Kraus and Amy Paretsky, who had filed an appeal of a decision made by the building inspector concerning the property at 329 West Main Street, and that appeal was one of the items on the board's agenda for October 27th, following a continuance from an initial hearing session on July 28th. Under the open meeting law, the board has to review the complaint and decide if any remedial action is needed. I will give an outline of what the process is, but first I just want to describe the complaint. The board members have a copy, so I will just give a summary. The complaint says that after Ms. Kraus made an opening presentation and she and Ms. Paretsky asked some questions, they were not allowed to speak further because the chair intentionally did not recognize them to speak, and that Ms. Paretsky was not given panelist status for a Zoom format in which the meeting was held. The complaint also says that Ms. Kraus and Ms. Paretsky wanted to ask for further continuance of the hearing on behalf of an abutter who was having technical difficulties on the Zoom platform, but they were not allowed to do so. The complaint requests that the hearing at 329 West Main Street be reopened so the complainants can have a rebuttal to the building inspector's position and a closing statement. However, the board has made its decision on the appeal in question, and the written decision document had been filed at the town clerk. Under the Attorney General's regulations for open meeting law, there is a procedure and a timetable for response when the town board receives a complaint claiming a violation of the law. And that is, within 14 business days after receiving the complaint, the public body shall review the allegations in the complaint, take remedial action if such action is appropriate, send a response to the complainant, including a description of any remedial action, and send a copy of the complaint to the Attorney General with a description of any remedial action taken. That's 940 CMR 20-055. Therefore, what we need to do tonight is review the complaint and consider whether we believe there was a violation as alleged such that remedial action by the board is required, or if there is not a violation. If the board determines that remedial action is required to address the violation, we must specify the particular action. For information purposes, I'll point out that the Attorney General's regulations include the following statement. Any remedial action taken by the public body in response to a complaint under Chapter 490 CMR, it's not Chapter 940 CMR 29055 shall not be admissible as evidence that a violation occurred in any later administrative or judicial proceedings against the public body relating to the alleged violations. It's 940 CMR 29.055A. Okay, so before we start our discussion, I'm just going to ask Kathy if you would just give a little history of what has happened to date.
Sure. So today I just went through the file just to provide a synopsis tonight of the various dates of when things occurred, and what started this application was a letter was submitted by Amy Paretsky to the town clerk on May 22nd, 2020. Stating that she would like to appeal a 2020 interpretation of Mr. Frederico as the building inspector and zoning enforcement officer. That was then followed on June 15th by an application for an appeal. So that was using the ZBA's application form. So that was filed with the town clerk's office by Amy Paretsky and Joanne Kraus. And again, that was done on June 15th, 2020. We then went forward and advertised a public hearing to begin on July 28th, 2020. The hearing was opened and the presentation was made by the applicants on July 28th, and also, excuse me. So the initial presentation was made by the applicants on July 28th, and then the hearing was continued to the August 25th ZBA meeting. At the July meeting, the board requested information from town council for the August 25th meeting. The information was not yet available, and the board continued the hearing to September 22nd, and that was with the applicant's agreement. Then just prior to September 22nd, the applicant requested a continuance from September 22nd to October 27th. And then on October 27th, the hearing was closed. Presentations were made by the two applicants, and the board didn't have any further questions, and a motion was made to close the hearing on October 27th. And then the board voted 2 in favor, 3 opposed to approve the applicant's appeal. And then with fewer than 4 members voting to overrule the decision of the building inspector, the appeal was denied, and the building inspector's determination that a contractor's yard may be operated at 329 West Main Street remains in effect. The decision obviously was then written in-house, and the decision was filed with the town clerk on December 2nd.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, so this is an open discussion amongst all members of the board to determine whether or not you believe that we violated the open meeting law regarding holding a meeting in public via Zoom and allowing the public to view all matters that came before us related to this hearing, and provided opportunity for the appellant to present their appeal.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Mark?
Okay. In reading through this complaint, I felt that, as my understanding originally is that we continued the meeting because we needed input from town council on a few questions we had on this property. When it finally got around to having this input on the 27th, we did ask the applicants for any new information. They had an opportunity to present the information. We heard from town council for the information we had requested. And that I just feel that the gist of this complaint is that the applicants were unhappy with the way we run our meeting. And I don't feel it's, I don't see there's any violation of open meeting. We allowed them time to talk. If we didn't allow them time to talk exactly when they wanted to talk, you know, I just don't see, once again, I see that as we are in charge of running our own meeting, and we have the, and we did allow them a fair shot at having their say. That's it.
Thank you, Mark. Other members of the board? Dick?
I agree with Mark. I mean, both of the applicants had the ample time to speak at both meetings, and they spoke for a good amount of time and presented their side, and then had opportunities to ask questions at both meetings, as I remember it. And I don't think there's any violation of the open meeting law. I think they wanted to have a rebuttal. You know, we don't have that in the zoning board, and I think there's no violation.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Brad?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mark and Dick in their input. And I know, I mean, when I was chair running the meeting in July, it's not an easy thing to do on Zoom, you know, to get everyone's input and things like that. But because this was obviously a hot topic, but the fact that it was open, they had an opportunity to speak. Then it's, you know, like Dick said, we don't have to give rebuttals. If they have an opportunity to speak, they can speak earlier on.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, Jeff?
I'll just join in. I actually completely agree with all three voting members. The hearing had gone on for a number of times, continued by both sides, and then you had allowed everyone to speak for extended periods of time. I think that covers what needs to be done for an open meeting rule.
Okay. Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just to kind of rehash what everyone else has said, there were several meetings. The idea that there was material information that could be presented after several meetings, I think is hard to see that point. But yeah, I mean, it was, you know, this was spread over several meetings in which we had very long discussions and several hours of talking from both sides. I don't think it's necessarily a law or a right to have the last word, even though that is sometimes what we do give. But yeah, I would agree with everyone's point.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. One of the things, to Brad's point, it is different trying to run a meeting through Zoom. And I would ask, moving forward, since each of you have the opportunity to be able to see attendees, at least while I'm the chairperson of the board, if you see someone's hand raised and you think that I have not seen it because I'm distracted by engaged in the meeting, I would appreciate, I think it would be good practice for us to, let the chair, whoever the chair is at that time, know that there is somebody who has their hand raised, because maybe it's just not, as I said, it may not be something that the chair sees at that moment, but the other members could bring it up that there is somebody in the attendance that has a hand raised. Reduce the risk of this happening again. So, all right, well, now I'm going to ask either town council or our town planner what we do next.
I'll defer
Madam Chair,
to
it's
Mr.
David
Janeski.
Janeski. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Still not seeing myself on the screen. At this point, I would advise that the board should take a vote as to its finding, based on the comments that were made, that there was not a violation of the open meeting law as is alleged in the complaint.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
And while we're doing that, and just to your point, I'm presuming that there was no one else that was looking to be heard here.
This evening?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Do we make this as a proposal? As a move?
As a motion, I would.
Yeah.
I would suggest yes.
Kathy, do you have anything to add?
Actually, I just wanted to verify, Mark, that I'm looking at the attendees and there's nobody that has their hand raised. I mean, even though it's not a public hearing, but still.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just want to verify that.
Well, I motion that there was no violation of open meeting law at the October 27th meeting. It's the October 27th meeting, right? Right. Yeah.
Second.
Okay, so that motion has been made by Mark and seconded by Dick, and by roll call vote, Mark,
Aye.
Dick,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and Fran, aye. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we move on to the next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from our October 25th, September 22nd, September 29th, and October 27th meetings. We got these quite a while ago. Well, just anybody have any edits that had not been given to Kathy during the review process? So those that were received, I don't know what you want to do them separately. If anyone has any edits or concerns, or do them collectively.
I haven't, I don't have any edits to discuss.
Okay.
I move that we accept all 4 sets of minutes.
Second.
Okay, I missed it. Was that Brad?
No, that was Dick. I was about to say
sorry,
that.
Dick, sorry. Okay, okay. All right, so that was Mark. All right, and a roll call vote, Mark,
Aye.
Dick,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Paul. Oh,
Aye. Sorry, I was coughing.
that's all right. And Fran, aye. All right, thank you very much.
So, actually, Fran, if I could, I just want to verify, I mean, I know you just took the vote, but I just want to verify for the minutes, for tonight's minutes, that it was October 27th, September 29th, September 22nd, and August 25th.
That is correct.
So, okay.
And I was just unable to remember all 4 dates.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to put it in the record that we were on the same page, that those are the 4 sets.
Okay. All right, so the next item was the 2021 zoning amendments, and these are the draft form amendments that the planning board is looking to, I don't know, advance all of, or this is their first test at what they're looking to possibly bring to town meeting next year. At this moment, I don't know whether people have digested it, where they would want to discuss it. We can discuss it in January. The planning board will hold a public hearing before they go to the final warrant, or at some point in the future. And certainly their meetings are open to the public to hear as they discuss them. I don't know if anyone actually had chance to look at them. There were several, but they are in draft stage, right, Kathy?
Yes, yep, they're in draft stage, and they've been drafted by the ones that are before you. They've been drafted by 2 of the planning board members. So they're not, they're not anywhere near, in the final format yet. And, a lot may change too. But this is a result of the planning board at their last couple of meetings talking about potential, proposals. There were a couple additional items or additional amendments discussed, and those particular board members that were sort of sponsoring those amendments, one having to do with duplexes, another one with signs, and another one we're starting to look into sober houses. That's a hot topic amongst a lot of the towns right now. But those 3 topics and those 3 potential amendments those board members said that they would wait, and that particularly the sober house, that we needed to, do some more research on. So staff hasn't reviewed these proposals in any sort of detail, but we are going to do that for the December 16th planning board meeting, which is a week from tomorrow.
Okay.
And so we'll provide some feedback, some initial feedback to the planning board. But, my purpose, obviously, we do this every year. My purpose in, sharing them with you is, you are one of the land use boards, and several of these changes affect, your jurisdiction this year. So, just wanted to make the board aware of them, and, I'll continue to keep it on the agenda. And if you want, whether you want to do it tonight or, we can talk in more detail at your January meeting.
Okay. All right. What is the pleasure? Jeff?
I just wanted to, if Kathy could just give us a timeline of certainly in another week will be the first time the planning board, you'll discuss it. But after that, what is the timeline in terms of review and approval into the new year before the town meeting?
The as far as staff and boards proposed amendments for the 2021 town meeting are due to the town administrator by February 4th. So that's the date that we had to back into. So that's to basically reserve a spot on the warrant. And then there hasn't been any discussion yet about whether town meeting, what town meeting is going to look like this year. Will it be held, on the 4th Monday? We're not there yet. But just like last year, I'm going to anticipate, just for scheduling purposes, that it is the 4th Monday of April. And so we will schedule public hearings with the planning board for probably February and March. So the board will, continue to discuss, on an informal basis, prior to a public hearing. They'll continue to discuss these at their next couple of meetings. And then most likely the public hearing would be at their first meeting in February.
Okay. And when is our meeting in January? January
26th.
Okay, so the fact that these are really January 26th, I don't, again, maybe they need to be fine tuned more before we actually, I mean, I would hate to spend time tonight talking about the merits or lack of or tweaks when we don't even know whether these are going to be what they submit even after town staff has looked at them.
Well, I can't say definitively, but at the last planning board meeting, they had sort of narrowed it down to this group
Okay.
of amendments. So, I mean, again, certainly there'll be more discussion, and maybe, maybe there will be some changes that, some of these might not go forward to town meeting. That I don't know.
Do we have anything for our January 26th meeting yet?
I think, is there one or two, Bob? They're working on it. They have until, I think it's right before Christmas, right before December 25th, that people need to submit. And I know that there's at least a couple that have been working with Bob.
The 22nd, I believe, is the deadline for submissions or applications. I'm working on 3 appeals of zoning enforcement orders that I have issued. One is for cars in the yard and mechanic services on Hamilton Street. Another is on Thayer Street. A garage was started to be built, and when the as-built foundation plan came in, it was discovered that the garage was built about 6 feet into the setback of the lot. The third one is on Mill Street for the use of a kennel in the, I think it's a downtown business neighborhood, which is not allowed. So those are the 3 that I'm working on right now. There may be a 4th coming, but I haven't seen too much detail on that.
Bob, are those, is Mill Street, which is someone right now that's operating like a dog babysitting, walking?
It's a doggy daycare center, and
out of their home, right?
Out of their home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is she applying for a variance to allow the use, or is she?
Well, right now she's appealing my order to cease and desist, and I'm going to recommend to her that if she wants to go that route, she's probably going to have to add to it, apply for a use variance probably at the same meeting.
And then on Thayer Street, are they applying for a variance?
Thayer Street will be applying for a variance. Like I said, it's a 3-car garage being built. When it was the initial proposed plot plan, actually came in as acceptable. And when we did a foundation as built, which is required before framing is to start, we discovered that the as built came in 9 feet or 6 feet short, or 6 feet into the rear yard setback of 25 feet.
And then I know someone has emailed back and forth with me, and I think actually they've talked to you, Bob, too. There might be another one on Mill Street where it used to be a 3-family, then it went to a 2-family, and I think they want to bring it back to a 3-family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's across the street at number 5. It's directly next door to the fire station. It's a older white building that it used to have some businesses in it, but they want to make it completely residential, which would technically be a change of use. And generally it's not allowed in the proposed configuration in the DB neighborhood. So I haven't seen any application from them. I've only had preliminary emails at this point, but I would not be surprised if they get their act together in time. So it's I can't say much about it because I haven't seen any paperwork from them in terms of any kind of official application or action. So you're looking at 3 probables and possibly a 4th.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't know how people are comfortable or not going through the zoning amendment that are right now at consideration level with the planning board. Do you want to spend time on them tonight? Do you want to, I mean, I don't know how much time you've had to look at them. January could be a busy night. It might not be. It's hard to say.
Madam Chair, what is your, do you expect us to come up with some sort of feedback in written form to the, or like, or I guess, or is it just a informal discussion about the
Well,
amendments?
I think
To be honest, I haven't read, I saw them, I haven't read them, so
Right.
I'm not.
well, I
prepared.
wouldn't want, I guess it's a courtesy to send them to us as part of the fact that they would impact some of our authority. And they also are related to land use regardless. So I think that if we had some concrete feedback, we would want to be able to give it in written form, but it may just be, wow, these are good, we're moving in the right direction, or, we might have questions that will prompt them to question the validity or the, the scope of their changes. But I mean, any individual on this board can, also as a resident, participate in the when they have the public hearing for the when it gets closer to the warrant too, on anything that they don't either they support or don't support. But I mean, we should at least look at the ones that are going to change how we would view something. I mean, I guess if one of the changes in the zoning is going to make something now a non-conforming use, that means that there's going to be that's going to come before us at some point, because the person is now non-conforming if they wanted to continue or expand, right? So, I mean, I certainly,
I guess my, like, do you think it, because I don't even know when we met we did a combined meeting with the planning board
yeah.
where it was zoning and planning, and we had like the first hour of the planning board meeting, we were there. I don't know if you think at some point, once these things get, we can have a meeting with the planning board and have it on their agenda for a half hour or whatever, as opposed to, trying to formalize something in our meeting and then send it to them and it just gets lost in the shuffle.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I certainly can bring that up to Carrie, the chair of the planning board. What do other people think? I mean, do you want me to see whether she would entertain a visit from us at one of their meetings? Dick?
I think that's a great idea. I mean, after we get some kind of concrete format of what they're trying to decide, I mean, after the next meeting, they should have a better idea. We get that on paper, and then we go to a next meeting after that so that we can have some input with some solid ideas of what they're trying to do, as opposed to what, I'm not opposed, but so we know what we're talking about.
All right, so that makes sense. All right, so and they certainly do meet more often than we do, on a more consistent basis. So there probably would be opportunity, maybe even before, well, I don't think before our January 26th meeting, but possibly.
Yeah, I guess I would view it as us going to their meeting.
Yeah,
since they meet more, and whether it's just like the first half hour is, whether they're just, we've gone through it, they're presenting. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, we did this. What was it, a year and a half ago, or whatever it was?
Yeah, it's been a while, maybe even 2 years at this point.
Right. Well, it was in person, so I know it wasn't this year.
Right. Yeah.
That's a good point. Good point.
All right. So Kathy, is that something that we could ask the chair of the planning board?
Sure. Did you didn't say a specific meeting, did you?
No, I would guess if they're going to be getting feedback from town staff on their December 16th meeting, I'm going to hope they're not meeting again in December, because that would be Christmas week, but okay.
No, January 5th.
Okay.
Would there be their next meeting? So
okay.
Possibly on that meeting?
Right. Well, yeah. We give that a shot.
Okay.
Right. And if not, whatever I know they do normally meet twice a month, right?
Mhm.
Yep,
Right, so.
yep. So they'll be meeting on the 5th and the 19th.
Okay, all right, yeah, so, and again, depending on what their agenda is, but that was a good idea. Thanks, Paul.
Okay, so I'll talk to the chairman about that.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mark.
Can I ask staff some opinion on reading some of these? I did note skimming through that on prohibited uses, they don't want the storage of noxious or malodorous chemicals. And I'm thinking vis-a-vis the, ammonia cleaner that we keep in the kitchen, it's malodorous. Is there a quantity on these that I have to assume? It just seems like it's a blanket prohibition that would put most of us in violation of zoning.
There hasn't been any detailed discussion about that one.
Okay.
At this point.
I mean, am I valid in saying, hey, this is a little too vague?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's a legitimate question.
Okay, all right, I'll dig down. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Fran,
Any other? Yes, Jeff.
we have an attendee with their hand up.
Well,
Just saying.
thank you, Jeff. Well, as a courtesy, since she is a member of the planning board, I'm going to let Ms. Paretsky speak. Go ahead, Amy.
Hi, I just wanted to answer Mark's question that I don't know if it was written in the summary, but it was written in the email that went to the board, that the list of prohibited uses that's an example from 2 other towns. And we were going to go down the list one by one and talk about them. So those weren't prohibited uses that we picked. Those were examples from 2 other towns. And at our next meeting, we're going to go down them and talk about them. So none of those are set in stone.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I also didn't know if there was a standard way that staff looks at this and says, okay, if it's not more than, if it's not less than 5, or it's not more than 5 gallons or a gallon, or some industrial quantity versus household use quantity.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Brad, were you, I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if Brad was speaking.
Oh, nope.
Sorry. Oh,
Nope,
okay, sorry
nothing.
about that. Okay.
Just flapping my hands like that, yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other business that may come before the board? Kathy, Bob, Fred? Okay. Do you think, I don't know, again, if we have a full agenda in January, that's fine. Otherwise, I would be curious as like a recap, if it's not appropriate now, at another time. Some of the things that were approved that we haven't seen movement on. I'm thinking mainly the assisted living on King Street. But I think there was something else that I remember thinking, oh, I wonder why they haven't done it yet. If we can just get an update, unless it's appropriate now, we can, and it's quick, that'd be great. Fred?
I can give you a quick update on King Street. Not
Okay.
much to say. The developer has worked with Mass DOT and the town to come up with a configuration on that driveway. And it requires a MOU, a memorandum of understanding between the town and the developer as to what his responsibilities are and when he needs to complete certain things. And that MOU has gone to town council for review so that it can then go before the Board of Selectmen to be endorsed and allow us to proceed. So we're in that process where town council is reviewing the MOU.
Okay, so it's not that there's not a time lapse of where the permit or expires, because he is working on it.
He did request an extension on your decision, and he's still within that time frame. He's frustrated with the length of time it's taken, but there's several factors involved in why that's occurring.
Okay.
And if he needs to, he could come back for another extension, but I believe you gave him plenty of time the last time he was extended.
Okay.
Like I said, right now we're just waiting on town council, and then we'll get to the Board of Selectmen, and I'll give you an update as soon as that happens.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, anything else, anyone?
Yeah, Fran, this is Bob.
Yes,
Probably 343 Hudson Street.
okay.
It's that old house, dilapidated.
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah.
on the corner.
Yeah.
Originally a variance and a set of special permits was granted by both boards. The variance has lapsed. I believe the special permits have lapsed. If they haven't already, they're going to soon. I've heard nothing in terms of applying for any kind of extensions. The last time I spoke with the property owners, they were contemplating removing, actually literally taking the building down and applying to the boards again to reconstruct a two-family on the lot, but move the location of the building. And I instructed them that what you're going to have to do is start from ground zero all over again and get your engineers in there and the designers in there, new set of architectural plans, new set of lot layouts, sight lines, distances, setbacks, groundwater, basically throw everything out that was granted before and start again. I haven't heard much forward progress since then. A letter is going to be going out, if I get to it this week, fine, if maybe early next week, to get the place boarded up. Because it's been open too long, it's open to the weather. It's been a nuisance, it's been a challenge to keep things kind of clean over there. So I'm getting a little tired of dealing with this whole situation. So I'm going to order it boarded up and made safe until they figure out what they want to do. Unfortunately, I can't give them a timeline, to get them to move forward. So that's about where that is sitting.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, all right, so two things. One, I did want to just mention that I did have a conversation with Carrie Martinek, the chair of the planning board, and she, in reference to the technical support letter that we had gotten from them, and she said certainly it was not their intent to school us on the zoning bylaws, and that they actually thought that that would simplify things, referencing the bylaws that they were concerning versus having it be 3 pages of narrative. But she said that in the future they'll try to be more pointed in, this is what we're recommending, or this is why we think it should or should not be moved forward. So that's one of those things where sometimes if you type in large font, people think you're yelling. It just came across in a way in which it was not intended. The other thing I would remind everybody, if you do read the zoning amendment, the warrant article proposals for planning board, and you as individuals have questions and you want clarification from town staff individually, you can ask for that. Just don't have conversations with other members of either this board or other boards about it outside of the open meeting. Okay. Anything else? Kathy, anything else? Okay. All right. Do I hear a motion?
Don't we have to, did we close 56 Hudson?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No.
Geez, thank you, Brad. I was going on thinking we were done. I apologize.
That's what I thought too. Yeah, for a second.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Yes. 56 Hudson. Okay. Fred, are you comfortable with the 7 feet?
I am.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just jump in, Madam Chair. I think getting that truck off the street in general and eliminating that bump out, I think is just safer. And I do appreciate them changing the sidewalk as well. So I think it's an improvement of what's currently there.
I walk it at least five nights a week, and I will appreciate the sidewalk further up or down Hudson Street, whichever way people say it. and cross over without having to go like this around the corner, that bump out of the building. So yeah, I think it's an improvement as well.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I agree with Brad. I think it's an improvement. Taking down the blue wall opens up the sort of line of sight when you're coming down Hudson. The only concern, and it's not really even that big of a concern, is the sidewalk piece where they're moving the sidewalk, easterly of where it currently ends on the side closest to the building, and then obviously connecting it on the north side. And it didn't seem like they were not in favor of doing it, but as long as we make sure that in our decision that there's something to hold them accountable, that, hey, you're moving the crosswalk down, whatever it is, 15 feet, you also need to make sure that the other side is now connected with the sidewalk that goes into town. So as long as we have that in the decision somewhere that confirms that, which they seem to be willing to do, then I have really no concerns.
Okay, thank you. All right, and so we have two letters from Fred, one from the groundwater, which was from our October 27th meeting, and and they did already agree to all of those concerns and all those conditions. And then we have the letter from Fred for today about the sidewalk and the, that had 4 points on it that I can't find at the moment. There it is. Okay, and how do we address to ensure that the tweaks don't blow out into major changes? Because he did reference several just tweaks that he had to do.
I'll take responsibility for monitoring the tweaks if you want. My letter was intended to give direction to the applicant that he couldn't go any closer than a certain amount to the right of way. That would be the 7 feet. And then everything else needs to be approved by the DPW director and myself. We will be reviewing. I actually issue the road opening permits, which we're asking him to get. And then we'll make sure that that sidewalk is extended to the crosswalk that's being relocated to the east, and that there's a proper transition for handicap ramps up to the sidewalk on both sides. So you can get down, cross, and get back up onto the sidewalk continuously without poking your head around that building that juts out.
Okay, so if we referenced your letter of December 8th with an amending number 4 from, which appears to be 8 feet, striking that and saying that the approval should include a minimum setback of 7 feet?
Yeah, you could take my letter, just strike number 4 altogether and just limit the setback to no closer than 7 feet to Hudson Street.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so they're asking for 8 feet of relief.
Right.
Correct? Yes, okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Not the other way around. We just want to make sure that's,
Yeah, well, yes.
that can make a difference.
Okay. Any other discussion or concerns? Does somebody want to try making a motion? And this is a special permit with, and special permit site plan approval and special permit groundwater protection overlay district. Come on, somebody. It's going to be Paul or
Oh, I guess I break
Mark.
first. Okay.
Paul's pretty good at doing it, but he just ducked out.
He ducked out, yeah. Okay.
I was trying to find the thing.
Yeah, well, I don't have the thing in front of me, unfortunately, but I motion that we grant a special permit and special permit with site plan review and everything else for the property at 56 Hudson Street and allow an incursion into the offset of 8 feet with all of Fred's conditions. Since they've agreed to them.
As well as the groundwater letter conditions of October 27th?
Right. Thank you.
That's right.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to give that one to Brad.
Give it a Brad, yeah.
It was a tie. Tie goes to the younger person, sorry, Dick. All right, Kathy, is that sufficient for you to write a decision?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, then a roll call vote. Mark,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Dick, Paul,
Aye.
and Fran, aye. Okay. Now we can wish each other a happy, healthy holiday and motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Dick. Mark seconded. Okay, so roll call. Dick,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
And Fran, aye. Thank you all very much, and we'll, if not.